Hey, how's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody's good. And if you're not good, I hope everything works out for the good. Today, I just want to say welcome to another episode with Speak Life, Shine Bright. I'm your host, Kurt, and I pulled up to Pennsylvania to do another podcast episode. And today's episode is special to me because this young lady, this guest that we have on today, she's been amazing. She's been triumphant in her life, and I believe her story will encourage millions of people. So it's been some time trying to get her on the podcast. I haven't been sharp enough. I've been spontaneous, but you know, you need to be organized and set a date and time. And finally, we set the date and time to start the New Year's off right. Today's January 1st, 2022. 2022. So I just want y'all to give a warm welcome to my special guest, Shequita Murray. Give a warm welcome, y'all. Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
It's a pleasure to have you on Speak Life, Shine Bright. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And finally, you get to tell the world your story through this podcast, this platform. That's what it's created for people to tell triumphant stories. So let's get into it. Where were you born?
I was born in Uniontown, at Uniontown Hospital.
Uniontown, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay. And who in your childhood, who raised you in your childhood?
A couple people. My mom, but mostly my grandmother, and a lot of people, I'd say.
Okay. So we're just trying to give before we get deep into the podcast, the viewers, basically, this is a background, where you from, things like that. So Uniontown, Pennsylvania, you're saying you raised by your grandmother.
Yes.
And a few other people.
Yeah.
They said it takes a village to raise a child. So we could, and I guess Uniontown is a small area.
Very small.
Okay. How far is that? Like, where is it located on the map? Because when you say Uniontown, Pennsylvania, a lot of people wouldn't be able to think what city is it close to?
Pittsburgh.
Okay. So that's about how far out of Pittsburgh?
About 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay. And so is your grandmother like your role model?
For sure. Yes, she has been my whole life. She's not living anymore, but definitely. God
bless her soul. That's good. You know, strong grandmothers raise strong individuals.
Yes, they do.
Yes. So now, what stood out to you growing up in your childhood? Like, what stood out the most in your childhood, especially being raised in Uniontown, Pennsylvania?
It was just really small. I had a lot of family. It was really close. Like, everybody knew everybody. Like, that's how small it was.
Okay. Small town.
Yeah.
Everybody's like a close, not related, but like a family.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And like I said, what stood out the most? What memories stood out the most during your childhood growing up in Uniontown?
It's so crazy because, they weren't really good. So, I don't know if I pushed everything to the back of my head.
Oh, wow.
But, I would say most memorable was whenever me, my mom, and my sisters were together.
Okay.
Which wasn't for a very long time, but probably up until I was in about second grade.
Second grade.
Yeah.
And you remember that vividly?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. And do you still have a connection with them?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so you remember to second grade, and how's your schooling and things like that in Uniontown?
It was pretty good. I went to probably every school in Uniontown, though, because I moved around a lot. But my grades and stuff were good. School was a outlet for me. It was a safe place, I'd say.
Is that because of what kind of household did you grow up in to have to say school was your safe zone?
Yeah, because my household wasn't very consistent. I can just remember not really having a house, actually, and just living lots of different places. So whenever I went to school, like it was like an escape.
As we could see for many kids during this pandemic, when they were doing the virtual school, a lot of kids had to stay home, and like you said, school was their safe zone. So now they're home, and they're receiving more abuse, more neglect.
Yeah.
Even I heard kids being locked in the basement, being malnutrition, and things like that. I seen the worst of the worst during this pandemic that we're actually still in. So school was your safe zone. And with all that taking place, what did it lead you to do? Like the negative things did it push you to do?
I just was like, didn't really like rules at all, you know, because I was like, I raised myself basically. You know, my grandma was there, but like, I was just all over the place. So like, I started drinking very, very early.
At what age?
Probably about 16.
Wow. 16. And they say alcohol is a drug.
Yeah.
They have people who get addicted, and it's a hard thing to really break. So you started drinking at 16, and when did you start messing with other drugs other than alcohol?
About the same age.
And what kind of drugs was that?
Marijuana first, and then like that's whenever ecstasy was really popular. So marijuana, ecstasy, alcohol.
16. So is this around 19? Is this like the late 90s?
Yeah, maybe like 2000.
2000? Okay. So late 2000, you started 16, started drinking, and then from drinking and went to the pills. And then let me see. So when did you realize like it started getting out of hand?
I didn't realize that it was getting out of hand until I was like 25, I think. But like by then I was already too deep in it. Like I was drinking all the time. But like now, like since I went to rehab and stuff, I had a problem with drinking the first time I drank. Like I never drank socially. Like I always blacked out, woke up somewhere shouldn't have been. Like I don't really remember a lot. But we were so young that like we just got up and did it again. And it was a problem, but I didn't really notice it was a problem back then.
Did any family member or anybody that personally really cared about you pulled you to the side and tried to speak, like say, hey, what's going on with you? Did anybody care to that point and if they did, were you at a point where you could even hear them?
I don't know, because like some of my friends like had their own apartments, so like adults weren't even really around. So
everybody basically grew up fast.
Yeah.
And then had their own.
Yeah.
So everything was done in private, basically.
Yeah, and then like I had older cousins who would like let me use their ID, and like I would go out real early, probably like 16. I was 32, 35 at the club buying drinks.
Is that West Virginia?
Yes.
I remember them Dub-V days, like club elements.
Yes.
So all you needed was an ID. Nobody was on you like hard, like hold up. This is said you're 32, but you look like you're only like 16, 18. Yeah. Well, 18 you're allowed to get in, but 16 you say you were getting in the club.
Yeah, no.
Wow. That's how I seen you in the club.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you were 16. But I believe a lot of us was getting in the club kind of early.
For sure.
Okay, so you partying, everything's private, and you're dibbling, and like you said, drinking, which is normal at the club, and then the pills. Did it escalate to any other drugs?
Cocaine, like way later in life. Probably I was like 30 whenever I first tried that.
Wow.
Yeah, Molly. I liked uppers. Like I like to be bouncing off walls.
And so that's a lot of different, your experiment, but now you're getting deep into it. So it start becoming like an addiction.
Yeah. Like, I would say the alcohol was the worst for me. Like, everything else I liked, but it was the alcohol.
That was the icing on the cake. And when did you you realized that you hit rock bottom in this and you had to, you're trying to find your way out? Like, you hit your worst. When was that?
Really about 2 years ago, actually. Like, I knew things were bad 'cause, like, I got a DUI and, like, wrecked my car, almost burnt down my sister's house. Like, things were bad, but they weren't too bad for me, I don't think. Like, people justified it, so, like, it made me feel better about it at the time.
Oh, you mean like, oh, it's okay, getting a DUI?
You weren't that bad. Yeah.
Wow. But you start recognizing that it was bad.
I mean, I lost my house. I moved in with my grandmother. My car, my job. Like, it started taking over my life. I was mean, defensive, a bully. I don't know. I just lost myself. And also in Uniontown, like, I was always the type of person who, like, was a leader. You know, like, I beat to my own drum. People didn't like that. It's like you had to, like, if you disagree with somebody, it was like the end of the world. So, like, I just kind of, like, changed myself just to fit in with people because it was easier. But
that's okay. I got you.
But I just didn't like myself after a while. So.
Okay, so you started to look in the mirror and say, "Hold up, this is not me. This can't be me."
Yeah, I didn't like myself because, like, I always rooted for the underdog because I always felt like that's what I was.
Well, that'd be most people coming out of Uniontown, right? The East End community.
Yeah.
It's like you're not too many people are gonna be successful. Like, there's not too many business owners. There's not too many Black-owned businesses in the town.
Right. And just, like, disagreeing with people. Like, it's crazy because, like, everybody's small-minded. That's just my opinion. And, like, if you disagree, it's like you can't agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, if I disagree, then it's like the end of the world, like a fight. Like, I hate you or something, but it's, like, really not that serious. Like, neither one of us have to be wrong. We can learn from each other, you know?
So how did you come to the point where you started to hate yourself, which is a powerful word. How did you find the strength to say, hold up, I need to go get some help?
Like, my drinking got really bad. Like, it got out of control. And I was isolating myself, and my anxiety was really bad. Like, I was having nightmares. I couldn't sleep. I was starting to drink at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
That's when I knew I was dehydrated. My skin looked awful. I shaved my head and checked myself into a mental institution, which still wasn't enough.
Was that the 2 years ago? This is we're in 2022 now.
No, that was probably about 5 years ago.
Oh, 5 years ago. That's when you started this.
Whenever my grandma died, it really got bad.
So that was 2017?
Like 2015.
2015. Okay. So you lost your everything, your grandma, your role model, your core, the core of the family. And that could have actually pushed you deeper. But that's when you started to realize, like, hold up.
Well, it pushed me deeper for a while. And, like, I don't know, when things went bad, I would just leave. Like, I would move away.
Out of Uniontown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and then, like, I moved to Pittsburgh. And I was staying with this lady. And, like they say, in recovery, you take you wherever you go. So, like, my first month, I was cool. I didn't drink, but I couldn't find anything. So I started staying with this lady, and I started drinking and blacking out and stuff. Whenever I left, she's like, you need to go to an AA meeting. Because I went back to Uniontown, and I went to a shelter.
Okay.
Actually. And, like, you had to be out of the shelter till, like, I think 11 at night. So I would be at my mom's, and I would drink all day and then go to the shelter at night. And they were going to get me my own place, and I was, like, scared to death to get my own place because I thought, like, I was going to kill me or my daughter, like, drinking. Fall asleep.
You just mentioned daughter.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a daughter.
I have a daughter.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 14.
14. So if you started, this stuff came into your life at the age of 16. You had her when you were
22.
22. So basically, most of her life, you were struggling with addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how were you able to manage as a mother and also feed your habit?
The first few years, it was good.
Okay.
Like, I drank occasionally. I had a job. We had our own place and stuff. But then, like, I had help, too. Like, her grandmother would get her.
Okay.
And, like, it just gave me more freedom to do whatever I wanted to do.
And is that the Thomas?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they we all went to the same church.
Yeah.
She has great grandmother, great family.
Oh yeah, she
grandmother.
does.
They're like twins. Is it her grandmother
Mm-hmm.
a twin? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're some of the most loving and welcoming people. Like when you go in the Mount Olivet, they'll sit right there towards the back.
Yeah.
And they'll just curd it and they'll give you that. Oh man, I miss them so much. They made me feel so comfortable walking into those doors because everybody had their like their little groups, church groups. But they were the most like loving and welcoming. Miss Bertha and but this is not my story. This is your story. But yeah, shout out to the Thomases, those strong grandmothers, the last of the living like pillars of the community.
Yes. So she's blessed to have good people.
Okay.
In her life.
So the grandmothers were there, so it gave you a chance to her to still have some strong. And I mean, you were doing your best to be strong, but the grandparents were the village, like your grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have your child, you're struggling, but now you said you move with someone in Pittsburgh and they're trying to push you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And how did you take that when she told you you need to go to a AA meeting?
I thought she was crazy. Like, I'm like, she don't even know me for real. Like, cause it was like I was living with my cousin. We didn't get along, so I met a lady in her building and started living with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she drank, and it was a wild building. Like, you could buy anything in the building. Beer, cigarettes, anything you wanted.
They had
to buy in this building. Yeah. So, like, I started drinking and smoking, and I was working, but, like, I was just working to drink and smoke. Mm-hmm. So, like, I started blacking out and brought myself with me. Like, I thought if I moved, everything would just change. But that wasn't the case at all. So I the day I left, she's like, you need to go to an AA meeting. And I just blew her off. But, like, in the back of my mind, it stayed there. So, yeah, I went back to Uniontown, and I went to the shelter. And they were going to help me find my own place. But I just wasn't ready for it. Okay. I knew that would not have been a good idea.
And they said nothing happens before it's time. So even though someone's trying to push you, like you said, you weren't really mentally there to take those steps, which is tough steps because sometimes we think there's nothing wrong. Oh, I'm just drinking. I'm just smoking. This is not a big deal. So you finally got back to Uniontown. Now you said you're in the transition of trying to get back a place, trying to get yourself stable again.
Yeah, trying to talk myself into being okay with getting a place. And nobody liked me anymore. Like, my family didn't want to be around me. Like, they were around me because they had to be. I was homeless, so I was living with my mom. And I almost burnt my sister's house down, and I just got drunk and argued and fought with everybody. Like, I was very defensive. I didn't realize that I was so miserable.
I guess the drugs will make you have like this attitude. And if you're sober, you're even more like on the edge. Is that true?
Yeah, it is.
So the love, even though they didn't like you, the love still was able them to tolerate.
Yeah, they tolerated me.
And that's actually not a bad thing because they didn't kick you to the curb.
Right.
Which actually push people deeper into the addiction. So that's a good thing right there. So now you feel like, man, everybody is like me against the world.
Yeah. And my cousin had come home from jail. God rest his soul, he passed away. But like me and my dad were never close either growing up. And I didn't realize that like that messed with me either. Like I always just said I didn't care. Like I don't need him. And like my cousin came home from jail and he like got me and my dad talking. And like I swear like it freed me. Like I didn't realize how much I was holding myself back because I didn't have a relationship with him until we like actually talked and started over.
And this is in your 20s?
This is in my 30s.
In your wow.
This was just right before I went to rehab.
Wow. And you're 30s?
I'm 36.
36. So this is in your 30s. You start building a relationship with your dad. So during the time from 16, he never like came to you and said, hey, baby girl, what's going on? No, I've been hearing this or I've been seeing this or.
It was, I felt like whenever I did talk to him whenever I was younger, I was already so defensive. And it wasn't like he was trying to get to know me. He was trying to tell me what to do. And I was not. That just wasn't going to work to start out a relationship for me. So we didn't talk for years.
And he was in Uniontown. He lived in Uniontown.
No, he was in the Army, and he was married, and he had other kids. Oh. So, yeah.
Made it kind of a little more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So you started to develop a relationship with your dad as you're getting ready to enter. This is right at the time you entered rehab?
Yeah, probably a month later I went to rehab. Like, I just felt free. Like, I was, like, carrying so much resentment and anger. And, like, our relationship really changed that. Like, especially because, like, we talked and he's like, I'm hearing all these things about you. And I just told him, like, you should have just got to know me, talk to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you abandoned me, like, whenever I needed you the most based off of what other people were saying about me. So we, like, just started fresh, and, like, he actually followed through with his word, like, we have a great relationship today.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So basically he came, even though he left, he wasn't in your life from the beginning and really developed that relationship with you. He came in like at the right time, like when you needed him the most.
Yes, I'd say for sure.
That's amazing. So you're developing a relationship with your dad and you're open to the love that he's getting ready to show you. Now you enter rehab. How's that process, entering rehab, for the listeners, the people who is dealing with addiction right now and afraid to take that step?
I think I was just like at my end, like I was isolating. I didn't want to be around people. Mm-hmm. Like, I can remember the day that I called rehab. Like, I was at my sister's house. Nobody was there. She was out of town, so I was staying at her house. And, like, I just Googled rehabs and called one, and it happened to be Pyramid in Wilkinsburg. And they were like, I just told them, like, I need help. And they were like, we can pick you up actually today at 1:00.
You said what city?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, this is Pittsburgh. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they were willing to come all the way to Uniontown and pick you up.
They came to Uniontown and picked me up that day at 1:00. So I was at my mom's, and I'm packing a bag, and she's like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to go to rehab. Mm-hmm. And, like, I thought I was only going to go for, like, a week. But I'm like, I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
But, like, whenever I got there, and like opened up the AA book and like read all the different alcoholics. Like I was all of them. So like I was like intrigued, and I felt like I was finally around people who understood me.
That was struggling, had the same struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you start, like how, like, so you get to the rehab, somebody picks you up in a van, you get there, do they give you like a little space, like a room or something? Like,
yeah. Well, first you go to detox. So like I was in detox for a couple days, and then you go to rehab. And I was on the second floor, I can remember, and there were like 4 girls in a room.
okay. Oh, per room.
Per room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to overcome their addiction. Everybody got one goal there, to leave there clean.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay there?
I stayed 28 days.
So you told your family, I'll see y'all in a week, but it ended up taking 3 more weeks.
Yeah. Because like, I don't know, I just wasn't ready to go. And I knew if I went home, I would have been drinking again.
Mm.
And it was bad. Like, I was always dehydrated. My skin looked awful. Like, I was sick all the time. Like, it was bad. It was to the point where, like, I would drink all day, black out, fall asleep, wake up, do it all over again. I was, like, literally throwing up poison.
Oh, because you wasn't getting the right nutrition.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you wasn't hydrated. So
Yeah.
you could be throwing up, but you're not actually throwing up nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's dangerous, but you're making it through.
Yeah.
So you did 28 days, you came, and then you came back home.
No, I did 28 days, and while I was there, I had a counselor,
Okay.
which was nice, and I had to get my mental health in order, because I was depressed and anxiety really bad, so like I got on meds, mood stabilizer.
Okay.
And then while I was there, I applied for some halfway houses. So I had met a girl on my way to rehab. We went and picked up a girl in Washington. And she was telling me about the recovery in Washington. And I signed up for some halfway houses there.
Halfway house. Can you break that down? Because you say halfway house, I thought halfway house is when people come from prison and they transitioning back into the normal life.
This was like a women's 6-month halfway house program.
Okay.
And there were 24 women in the house.
Okay.
And like you had groups and the counselor in the house, and like, you know, we had like different groups, and it was a 6-month program, and like you started out as a beginner, and like they had different groups like relapse prevention and grief groups and coping with emotions, and like it taught me structure, because like my whole life I would say I didn't have any. And acceptance and how to surrender. So like I went to counseling, and it was nice because my counselor was like in the house, and we had a group, and there were 8 of us. So like we had groups every like twice a week, and then I had like a single session, and like we had to be like a community leader, and we had to like be ambassador, and like I had to tell my life story, and it had to be the number and pages of the age that I was, so it had to be 35 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was a really good program. And like I had to get a sponsor, and I had to go to meetings. Yeah. And like I don't know, it just like definitely gave me some structure.
Okay.
And taught me how to like deal with people and cope with myself and let go a lot of my resentments that I had.
So basically, you start that. This is called a healing process. You're getting out of the addiction process, the addiction. You're overcoming the addiction, but now you're looking for structure and working on mental health. Your structure, because they're saying it hindered you from having that drugs, and the alcohol hindered you from creating that structure. But now you're in your 30s and you're fighting for it. So you start building a structure, and when did everything start feeling complete? Like you forgave yourself, you start feeling good. When did that start taking place where when you look in the mirror, you could start being at ease with yourself and starting to be happy with yourself?
Like after I started being open, because like I've always had a wall up. Once I opened up to my counselor, like I got the perfect counselor for me. So like once I opened up and just started expressing myself, because like I was so lost. Like if you asked me anything, I didn't know who I was anymore. And then like on the days that I was happy in the beginning, I was scared to be happy. Like I would go talk to her like, I'm scared to be happy. Like I was miserable for so long that like it was weird to be happy.
Hey, that can happen. I guess that's what actually pushes people back in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
They don't know how to accept the new you, the new me.
Right.
So you were struggling to be happy, even though you brought yourself finally to a happy place.
Right. And like everybody deserves to be happy. Like
Sure.
I didn't realize that. You know what I mean? Like
say that again.
everybody deserves to be happy.
Everybody deserves to be happy. No matter what you lacked in your childhood, no matter who was there, who wasn't there, everybody deserves to be happy. And I'm just excited that you get into this happy place now, because it seemed like it was a rough life. And at this point, how long were you clean?
So I was clean 28 days after rehab, and then I was in Turning Point for 6 months.
Okay, so that's almost 7 months now.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no urge. You're past that, and
it was nice that I didn't get to go home.
Back to Uniontown.
Yeah, like I was around other addicts who didn't judge because they had their own struggles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I was like building a new family.
Now that's the next question that I'm going to ask you, basically. So now you building a new family, but you still have your family in Uniontown. When you did go back and visit, how did they accept the new you? Did they? How was the welcoming back?
Like at first, it was weird because like I don't know if they really believed that I changed. So like they still, I don't know. I was changing, and like I had to be like, like I used to be like that, but like I don't do that anymore. You know what I mean?
So you find yourself explaining, trying to sell the new you instead of just being the new you.
Well, I was, but like they were still reacting to me as if I was the old me. So like I had to be like, Mom, like I didn't mean that like I used to, because I was I took my shit out on everybody, and I realized that like I blamed a lot of people for my behaviors, and like being at Turning Point made me learn accountability. But first and foremost, like I blamed my alcoholism on like my mom's house, or like, you know what I mean? So like it wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. And they accepted me, and they were happy for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause for that. Man, that's amazing. Feeling you changed, you overcame your addiction, and now like you say, you're building structure. You just want to be happy. And now that you're happy within yourself, it feels good when you have your family being happy for you.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to question, is this real, or how long is this gonna last?
Right.
Or this and that. But you're just pushing through. And now your daughter, she's seeing a different mom.
Yeah.
How's that? That's your pride and joy right there.
It's beautiful. Like we don't live together, but like we have the best relationship that I think we've had ever. And she actually trusts me. Like whenever I would move before, like I would be like, want her to come with me, and she would be like, I don't trust you, and I'm not going with you. You know what I mean? Every time things get hard, she told me, like, you leave. And, like, it pissed me off at first, but then I was like, this is the truth, so I can't be mad at it. But, like, she's seen the change,
Nice.
which was nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It seemed like they said the curses of our parents sometimes falls on us.
Yeah.
So just like you had the strain of the relationship between you and your dad, it seemed like it fell upon you, but you overcame it just like he overcame it. And this is amazing because some people don't.
Right.
And imagine that sometimes, you're taking care of all of this in your 30s. So now that you're in the final years of your 30s, you don't have to take this into your 40s.
Right.
You don't have to take this in. I mean, we don't want to look that far. We want to take time. But I'm just saying, though, it's a blessing that you're conquering these things. Sure. And building back relationships and building back trust and strengthening love, because the love is always there. They love you. Family love you. Don't matter if you're good or bad, but you're starting to build that love, and that's amazing. So you sobered up. Everybody's starting to accept you. You're building back relationships, and you're just glowing now. And that's what
I started going to church again too, and I got baptized, and like my spirit was just broken.
When was that?
I actually started while I was in Turning Point.
So this is 2019?
2020.
2020. Mm-hmm. So not too long ago. 2020.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years, May 19th.
May 19th, 2022 will be 2 years that you
are sober.
Sober completely. Mm-hmm. And also you gave your life to God.
Yeah.
And that,
like my sponsor, like in recovery, like we do step work.
Okay.
Which it's for you. Like it really helped me get in tune with, like, the first step is my life is unmanageable and I'm powerless. Mm. And I had to really realize that my life is it was unmanageable. So, like, a lot of the questions in there, like, help you get in tune with who you are and figure out why you were doing the things that you were doing, if that makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Wow. So you're clean for 2 years. You, even though you're strong and you're conquering, you needed something else, and that's what led you to the church.
Yeah.
And then you got baptized.
Yeah.
When did you get baptized?
In June of 2020.
And when you came up out of that water, how did you feel? Did you feel the difference, or did you feel everybody clapping for you and looking like, wow, she did it?
Yeah, my whole family came. It was nice.
That's amazing. So that's when, like, the God just opened up the floodgates and start pouring out blessings.
Yeah. Now
that you're in the program, now what was the steps of getting so now you completed the 6 months at it's a halfway house in Washington.
Mm-hmm. And then I went to the Mission, which was like a homeless shelter.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful place. Like, I had my own apartment in there, and, like, there was a bedroom for my daughter, and I stayed there for a couple months, and, like, I was working, and, like, now I'm in a 3-quarter house.
Nice. See?
Yeah, working.
Blessings that start coming one after another.
Right. Like, I had to train myself to not be negative, because, like, I literally I was miserable. Mm-hmm. Like, I forced myself to be miserable. Mm-hmm. So, like, now I'm just very positive. Mm-hmm. Like, I look for solutions. I don't want to stay in negativity. Mm-hmm. I kill people with kindness.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you say you don't want nobody to provoke you to anger, it'll provoke you to the old you. Yeah. This is the new you. Oh, you want to judge me? You want to be mean to me? Kindness.
Right. That's none of my business.
That's the God in you. What's the Mary? Mm-hmm. It's the God in me. Mm-hmm. You start seeing the God in you now. You're able to. You don't have to fight fire with fire.
Right.
God gave you the water now. You got the water. You came out of the water. Now you got the water to fight these battles. And he said he'll help you fight all your battles.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you see, I'm just so thankful that you're open and you're sharing this story, because like I've been encouraging. I said, man, your story could help millions of people. There's plenty of people dealing with addiction. I can't even tell you how many people have overdosed in the year of 2021, 2020.
I know, like, whenever I went to rehab, they're like, half of you aren't going to make it. And, like, it offended me because, you know, it was my first time ever there. But, like, that is really the reality of it.
They're being real.
Yeah.
Some people, you're fortunate.
For sure.
And that's why you have something to be thankful for.
Right.
Because not everybody, just because you go to rehab, that doesn't mean you're going to make it. It could push you in any kind of different direction. But I believe God always had his hand on you.
Yeah.
But of course, when our head is cloudy and these addictions and these man-made drugs and alcohol, all these different things are in, it's hard to see anything, really.
Seriously.
It's like you're blind. But he took the scales off your eyes once you said, you know what? I'm doing pretty good, but, you know, I need God now.
For sure.
You surrendered.
That's it, yeah.
He said surrender.
And I just turn everything over to him, especially things that I can't control, because, like, I used to drive myself crazy trying to figure things out. And now, like, I don't really stress too much anymore because, like, I don't try to control everything. And things that I know I can't do anything about, I just turn them over.
I believe that's where people lose it at. They find we're only so much strength that we have within ourselves.
Right.
You come to that dead end, and now you need that spiritual power. This is not about being religious. It's nothing about religion.
Right.
Because if religion was so powerful, we would never experience half of the stuff we experience, because religion is all around us.
Right.
But the spirituality is something that you have to pull from within.
That's it. And like the NA and AA program is spiritual. You know, like it's the God of my understanding.
Okay.
You know, which is God.
No judgment.
No judgment. No judgment whatsoever.
Come as you are.
Come as you are.
And we're going to help you.
Mm-hmm. And love you until you can love yourself.
And they did that. Wow. So anybody, any listener out there right now that's listening to this podcast episode, don't be afraid. Open your heart, open your mind, because there are people out there that want to see you get better, overcome your addiction, and create a solid foundation to live your best life. Is there anything you would like to speak to the listener out there, the person who's just caught in a bind in between, that's deep in the addiction and can't see their way out, but they want to get out? What would be the words of encouragement that you could tell the listener out there from what you have been through and made it through and overcame?
I would just say, like, take a chance on yourself. You know, like, fear hinders a lot of people, and, like, don't be afraid. Like, I don't want to just exist, you know, like life is supposed to be lived.
You don't just want to exist.
Right.
You want to live.
Yeah.
I like that. That's amazing. Wow. And hopefully someone grab a hold of that, and that goes, it falls on fertile ground, and it can help someone who's dealing with addiction. Don't just exist. You were born to live.
And be kind, and don't judge people. You know, like, don't kick them when they're down. Like, I don't know, just be kind. A hug can save somebody's life. You never know what somebody's going through.
True. Because a lot of people, what they call it, they functioning addicts.
Yeah.
They look like everything's all right, but really they're struggling behind closed doors. And it's okay to struggle. It's okay that we fall. But the most important part is not to stay down. It's to get back up.
Right. And
I'm so proud of you. And you're just an amazing woman that you end up finding that strength. Like you said, not too many people, with that one woman pushed you. So it's like, that was God.
Yeah.
God works through others. And like you said, that's why he said a hug.
Right.
Some encouraging words. Let God use you in a good way instead of judging people.
Right.
And I'm really so excited and glad that you were able to come on the platform. That's one of the reasons this platform was created, for triumphant stories like yours. Somebody can come on and say, hey, I've been through this, I've been through that, I've been at my worst, I was at rock bottom, I almost burned my sister's house down, I pushed everybody away, I was burning bridges, but somehow I reached deep down. They said that diamond in the rough, and you pulled yourself out through the woman pushing you, and through the people at the halfway house, and your counselor, and then the people who were in the same struggle. You came together as a team,
right? All
for the common good. And last but not least, you gave it all to God. The most important part that I believe that I caught from from your story, it sealed the deal.
Yes.
And now you're walking, you're glowing, you're encouraging.
Yes.
And I believe, I don't know what job you work in and what you do right now, but I believe God is really calling you to greatness, because what better is for someone to help someone in addiction than the person who actually been in addiction and made it out.
Right.
Not someone who went to school and got a degree and they want to tell you how to go about it.
Yeah.
But you actually did it. So that means God is going to use you in a mighty way to do great works. And I know it took a lot for you to come onto the podcast, and you had butterflies. Like I told you, I had butterflies, but through God, we overcome those butterflies. He didn't give us the spirit, like you said, of fear.
Right.
He gave us the spirit of power and a sound mind. And it's time for us to use that.
Right.
So I just want to encourage you to keep going. Only look back when you're looking for more strength from how far you made it, and looking to, of course, tell your story as you have done today on Speak Life, Shine Bright. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And like I said, I'm sure God is telling me, I'm sure that someone out there in Uniontown, in Pittsburgh area, in the Southwest, in the tri-state, in the 50 states, and across the globe is going to come across this podcast and say, man, if she can make it, I can make it. That's the goal. We want to encourage, we want to uplift, and we want to push people like that woman pushed you.
For sure.
Into living instead of what?
Existing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Is there any shout outs you want to give, and people that been there for you, any acknowledgments that you want to, highlight if they want to come across this podcast and you want to let them know?
My friend Celeste, actually.
Okay.
She went to rehab, and like that, I was attracted to her journey. So, yes, her for sure. And just my family. And I'm just glad that I did this.
It's amazing. Well, like I said, I'm thankful for this opportunity to just sit across from you and to allow you to open up this platform, Speak Life, Shine Bright, so you could tell your story. It's been told. It's triumphant. And I'm expecting greater things from you. This is not the end. It's not over.
It's the beginning.
Woo! It's just the beginning. Great things coming from Shequita. Great things. I know it. I see it. And God's going to do the rest. Just keep on walking on that solid ground. Keep on speaking positivity into the atmosphere, and keep on walking by faith and not by sight. I just want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast episode. Like I said, I'm sure it's going to help someone. I'm just thankful for everybody tuning in to Speak Life, Shine Bright. There's great things coming in this new year of 2022. I'm just thankful. So as we close, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to Shequita's story. I hope it's been uplifting, encouraging, to help change another life by her story, through her story. And then hopefully one day it could be reciprocated and you can tell your story. And I believe that's how it gives hope to others, that if because God is not a respecter of a person. If he can do it for you, he can do it for others. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Speak Life, Shine Bright. I'm your host, Kurt, and I'm out.